Hey everyone, welcome back to Beyond The Outback. I'm Emily, your resident American who's completely fascinated by Australia and everything about it, even though I've never actually been there myself.
And I'm Tom, here to help Emily understand the wonderful, sometimes weird world of Australian culture from the comfort of her own home.
Today we're diving into something that honestly both fascinates and terrifies me as I watch Australian content online, driving in Australia. Tom, every time I see footage of Australian roads, it just looks so different from what I'm used to here in America. That whole left side driving thing just blows my mind.
Left side driving, Emily? We drive on the correct side of the road. You Americans are the ones doing it backwards, mate.
Okay, okay, the left side then. But seriously, when I try to picture myself behind the wheel of a car in Australia, my brain just cannot compute it. Like, how does that even work practically?
So in Australia, we drive on the left side of the road, which means the steering wheel's on the right side of the car. It's completely opposite to what you're used to in America.
Right, so you're literally sitting where I would expect the passenger to be. That's so trippy to imagine.
Exactly. And for most people, coming from countries where you drive on the right, it does take some getting used to. The trickiest part is usually roundabouts, which we have absolutely everywhere in Australia.
Oh my gosh, roundabouts. I've been noticing those in every piece of Australian street footage I watch online. There are so many of them. Here in America, we mainly have four-way stops or traffic lights. These circular things look incredibly intimidating.
They're actually brilliant once you understand the concept. Much better traffic flow than stop signs, more efficient than lights. The key thing to remember is you go clockwise around them and you give way to traffic that's already in the roundabout.
Clockwise, okay? So as you approach, you're looking to your right to see what's coming?
Exactly right. You've got it. Now, if you were hypothetically planning to visit Australia and wanted to drive, you'd need to understand our licensing system, which is quite different from what you probably experienced in America.
Oh, really? How so? What's the process like for young Australians who are learning to drive?
We have a graduated system that's pretty comprehensive. First, you get your learner's permit, usually at 16, and you have to complete at least 120 hours of supervised driving with a fully licensed driver.
Wow, 120 hours? That's incredibly structured compared to what I remember from getting my license back in Ohio. That's like months and months of practice.
Yeah, and it gets more interesting. After you pass your driving test, you don't just get a full license. You get what we call a P1 license. That's a provisional license where you have to display red P plates on your car.
I think I've seen those in Australian videos. Those red letter P's on cars. What do the P plates actually mean?
P stands for provisional. Red P plates mean you're a new driver with pretty strict restrictions. You can't carry passengers under 21 unless they're a immediate family. You can't use your phone at all, not even hands free. And there are stricter speed limits and zero alcohol tolerance.
That actually makes a lot of sense from a safety perspective. Zero tolerance for alcohol, especially. How long do those restrictions last?
After a year, on your P1 license, you can upgrade to P2. The P2 are the green P plates. Still some restrictions, but they're more relaxed. You can have one passenger under 21 who's not family. Still no phone use, though, but you can drive higher powered cars.
Green P plates for the next stage. When do you finally get full, unrestricted driving privileges?
You need to stay on your P2 license for at least 2 years. So the whole journey from learner to full license takes about 4 years minimum. It's quite comprehensive compared to a lot of other countries.
4 years. That is incredibly thorough. What about actually owning a car? I keep seeing this word rego pop up in Australian content online. What does that mean?
Ah, Rego. That's short for registration. Every car in Australia has to be registered with the state government. It's like your car's official paperwork that proves it's legally allowed to be on the road.
So it's similar to vehicle registration here in the US. Do you have to renew it regularly like we do?
Yeah, you pay Rego annually, and here's what's interesting. It actually includes compulsory third-party insurance, which covers you if you injure someone in an accident. The cost varies by a state and the type of car you have.
Oh, that's convenient that basic insurance is automatically included. What about comprehensive coverage for your own vehicle?
That's separate and optional, but most people get it, especially if they've got a car loan. It covers damage to your own vehicle, see, theft, that sort of thing. You can shop around because prices vary heaps between different insurance companies.
Makes sense. Now, what about the actual rules of the road? Are there things that might really surprise an American driver?
One massive difference is we have speed cameras absolutely everywhere. And I mean everywhere. Fixed cameras, mobile cameras, red light cameras. Australia is pretty strict about speeding compared to some other countries.
Everywhere? That sounds quite intense. Are some of them hidden or are they all clearly visible?
Mobile speed cameras can be anywhere in unmarked cars, behind bushes, on bridges, you name it. The fines can be pretty hefty too. And if you go too far over the limit, you can lose your license entirely.
Wow, that's serious enforcement. What about drunk driving laws? How strict are they compared to here?
Very strict. We have random breath testing, which means police can pull you over anytime and test your blood alcohol level. No need for them to suspect anything. It's completely random and totally legal.
Random? That's quite different from here, where police usually need some kind of probable cause to pull you over.
It's widely accepted here as a road safety measure. The legal limit is 0.05 for most drivers. But if you're on your P plates, it's zero tolerance. Absolutely no alcohol at all.
Zero tolerance for new drivers is really smart policy. What about road signs? Are they pretty similar to international standards, or are there uniquely Australian ones?
Most are internationally standard, but there are some distinctly Australian ones, like we have signs warning about kangaroos, wombats, even cassowaries up in far north Queensland. You won't see those anywhere else in the world.
Kangaroo crossing signs. That sounds so perfectly uniquely Australian. Do people actually hit kangaroos regularly while driving?
Unfortunately, yeah, especially at dawn and dusk when they're most active and tend to hop across roads. That's why a lot of people in rural areas have bull bars on their cars, those metal frames on the front to protect against animal strikes.
Bull bars for kangaroo protection. That's definitely not something we think about here in Chicago. Speaking of driving culture, are there unwritten rules or etiquette things I should know about?
Oh, absolutely. One huge thing is using your indicator. That's what you'd call your turn signal or blinker. Australians get really, really frustrated when people don't indicate, especially at roundabouts.
Indicator, got it. How frustrated are we talking here? Like road rage level?
Not quite road rage, but you'll often hear people sarcastically mutter, "Nice indicator, idiot," when someone fails to signal. It's basically our national driving pet peeve. We take our indicators very seriously here.
I love that there's a standard sarcastic response for bad driving. That's hilarious. What about merging? Any special etiquette there?
Actually, Australians are pretty polite about merging. It's common courtesy to slow down a bit to let someone merge in, and then the person merging gives you a little thank you wave to acknowledge the kindness.
A thank you wave? That's so sweet. I love that there's actual acknowledgement of courtesy.
Yeah, it's just a quick wave in your rearview mirror to say thanks. Good driving karma. And there's another uniquely Australian thing, the country road finger wave.
The finger wave? Now I'm really intrigued. What is that?
When you're driving on quiet rural roads and you pass another car coming the opposite direction, you lift just one finger off the steering wheel as a little acknowledgement. It's a friendly gesture to say g'day without actually stopping or talking.
That is so quintessentially Australian. I absolutely love that there's this community aspect to driving, even with complete strangers.
There really is, especially in rural areas where you might not see another car for ages, which brings up another massive topic, the absolutely enormous distances you need to drive in Australia. This country is huge, Emily.
I've been looking at maps online, and the distances are just mind-boggling. Like, Sydney to Melbourne looks like it should be a quick trip on the map, but it's what, 9 hours of driving?
9 hours, and that's one of our shorter interstate drives. Perth to Sydney is about 40 hours of driving if you went non-stop. Most people fly for trips like that, but road trips are still hugely popular for shorter distances.
40 hours. That's absolutely insane. What do people do for really long drives through remote areas? I imagine there aren't Starbucks everywhere.
Definitely no Starbucks. There are roadhouses scattered along major highways. They're like truck stops. You can get fuel, food, coffee, and they usually have accommodation too. Perfect for grabbing a toastie and a coffee during a long drive.
Toasty. I keep learning these Australian food terms. What makes roadhouse food special, or is it just basic comfort food?
It's nothing fancy, just hearty comfort food for weary travellers. Ham and cheese toasties, meat pies, surprisingly decent coffee. It's more about the experience, really. Taking a break from hours of driving through empty countryside and having a chat with other travellers.
That actually sounds quite romantic in its own way. What about those really remote highways? I've heard about something called road trains.
Oh yeah, road trains. Those are absolutely massive trucks that can have 3 or even 4 trailers attached. They're used to transport goods across the vast distances in outback Australia. Some of them can be over 50 metres long.
50 meters. How do regular cars even safely pass something like that? That sounds terrifying.
Very carefully. You need a really long stretch of clear road, and you have to fully commit to the overtake because it takes ages to get past them. Most road train drivers are pretty good about pulling over when they can to let cars pass safely.
That's considerate of them. Going back to wildlife, you mentioned dawn and dusk being dangerous times. Is it mainly kangaroos people worry about, or are there other animals?
Kangaroos are the big one, but there are other animals too. Wombats, which are basically like furry boulders that can completely destroy your car. Emus, which are surprisingly fast and totally unpredictable. Even cattle sometimes wander onto roads.
Furry boulders. That's both hilarious and terrifying as a description of wombats.
It's pretty accurate though. They're solid muscle and low to the ground. Hit one at speed, and it'll go straight through your radiator and wreck your engine. That's why people in country areas often try to avoid driving at night unless they absolutely have to.
Good advice to remember. What about Australian driving slang? We've covered rego and indicators. Are there other terms I should know about?
Chuck a U-E means to do a U-turn. Pretty straightforward once you know it. We say servo for petrol station. That's gas station to you Americans. And obviously petrol instead of gas.
Chuck a UE, servo petrol. Got it. Any other uniquely Australian driving expressions I should know?
If someone's driving really slowly, we might complain they're doing the speed limit like it's a personal challenge. And if traffic's really heavy, we'll say it's chockers, completely packed solid.
Chalkers. I love that expression. What about weather conditions? Does Australia have unique driving challenges because of the extreme climate?
Absolutely. Up north, you've got the wet season where roads can flood incredibly quickly and become impassable. In the outback, dust storms can completely zero out visibility. And bushfire season means road closures and dangerous smoke hazards.
Bushfire smoke while driving sounds absolutely terrifying.
It can be really dangerous. Sometimes visibility drops to just a few meters ahead of you. That's when you pull over safely and wait it out. Same with dust storms. Never try to drive through them. It's just not worth the risk.
Smart advice. Are there big differences between states in terms of driving rules and regulations?
Some variations, yeah. Speed limits can be different. P-plate rules vary slightly between states, and some states are stricter about certain things. Like Western Australia has different rules about towing than New South Wales does.
That must be confusing for people driving interstate on road trips. What about toll roads? Do you have those in Australia like we do here?
Yeah, mainly around Sydney and Melbourne. Most use electronic tolling now. No stopping to pay cash at booths. You either have a tag in your car or they bill you by mail based on your license plate number.
That electronic system sounds convenient. What about fuel costs? I've heard petrol is pretty expensive in Australia compared to gas prices here.
It can be quite expensive, especially in remote areas where it might cost 50% more than in the cities. People doing long outback drives often carry extra fuel in jerry cans because servos can be literally hundreds of kilometres apart.
Jerry cans for extra fuel. That really emphasizes just how remote and vast some areas are. What about car types? Do Australians prefer different vehicles than Americans?
SUVs and utes are really popular. Utes are what you'd call pickup trucks. People love their Toyota Hilux and Ford Ranger for their reliability. Small hatchbacks are common in cities for easier parking and better fuel economy.
Utes, another Australian term I'm learning. What about caravan culture? I keep seeing references to something called grey nomads in Australian content.
Oh, yeah, grey nomads. That's older Australians, usually retirees, who spend months travelling around the country in caravans or motorhomes. They're a huge part of outback tourism, especially during the cooler winter months when the weather's more comfortable.
That sounds like an absolutely amazing way to see the country and spend retirement. What about emergency procedures? What should someone do if they break down in a really remote area?
Golden rule: stay with your vehicle. It's much easier for rescuers to spot a car than a person wandering around. Always tell someone your planned route before travelling remote areas, and carry extra water, food, and a satellite communicator if you're going really remote.
Stay with the vehicle. That's excellent advice that could save lives. This has been absolutely fascinating, Tom. I feel like I understand so much more about Australian driving culture now, even though I've never set foot in the country.
It really is quite different from American driving, isn't it? From the left-hand traffic to the wildlife hazards to the incredible distances, it's a completely unique experience that reflects our geography.
The community aspects really appeal to me. The finger wave, the thank you waves, even the shared frustration about indicators. It sounds like there's this understanding among drivers about looking out for each other.
There really is, especially in rural areas where you might be the only person someone sees for hours and hours. It's part of what makes Australian driving culture quite special and uniquely ours.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thanks so much for joining us as we explored the fascinating world of Australian driving culture, from P plates and roundabouts to road trains and the sacred art of using your indicators properly.
Hope this helps anyone who's curious about Australian driving or maybe planning a future visit down under. Remember, left side of the road, clockwise around roundabouts, and always use your indicators or you'll hear about it.
Thanks for tuning in to Beyond the Outback, everyone. Until next time, this is Emily and Tom saying goodbye.